Imagine a spy who doesn't need satellites, drones, or even weapons. A spy who can close their eyes and see secrets locked away in the enemy's most guarded base. Sounds like science fiction? Well, for decades, the CIA believed it wasn't fiction at all. This was Project Stargate. In the mid-20th century, the world held its breath. The Cold War was not just a battle of ideologies or a race for nuclear supremacy. It was a shadow war, fought in the dark corners of espionage and counterintelligence. The United States and the Soviet Union, two superpowers locked in a terrifying stalemate, were desperately searching for any advantage, no matter how unconventional. Then, whispers from behind the Iron Curtain began to reach American intelligence. Rumors of the Soviets pouring millions of rubles into psychotronic research, exploring telepathy, psychokinesis, and other paranormal phenomena not as fringe science, but as a new class of weapon. The fear was palpable. What if the enemy could read the minds of generals, disable missile systems with a thought, or locate every secret base on the map? A psychic gap was a terrifying new prospect. Faced with this unsettling possibility, the CIA and the Defense Intelligence Agency couldn't afford to be left behind. In a move that would remain secret for decades, they decided to fight fire with fire. They initiated a top-secret multi-million-dollar program to investigate and ultimately weaponize these same psychic abilities. Its name would change over the years, but it would become most famously known as Project Stargate. The project brought together an unlikely alliance. Elite military officers were hand-picked, not for their brawn, but for their intuition. Leading scientists from institutions like the Stanford Research Institute were brought in to apply rigorous scientific method to the seemingly unscientific. And at the core of it all were a handful of carefully selected individuals, natural psychics, who claimed to possess extraordinary gifts. Their mission: to develop a trainable, repeatable protocol for psychic spying. They called it remote viewing. The theory was that the human mind was not bound by the normal constraints of time and space. These remote viewers were trained to enter a specific state of consciousness, allowing their minds to journey to any coordinate on the globe. They claimed they could describe the layout of secret bunkers deep underground, read the contents of classified documents locked in a safe, locate downed spy planes in remote jungles, and witness nuclear tests at clandestine sites thousands of miles away. All of this, they alleged, was possible without ever leaving the confines of a sparse, windowless room. When the CIA declassified thousands of pages, they unveiled one of the most bizarre chapters of the Cold War, Project Stargate. Buried within these heavily redacted documents were details of a top-secret program to weaponize the paranormal. Fearing the Soviets were gaining an edge in a psychic arms race, the US government spent millions investigating if abilities like remote viewing could be used for espionage, turning the human mind into the ultimate intelligence-gathering tool. The experiments were audacious. In one famous session, a psychic was given only map coordinates for a target deep inside the Soviet Union. From a shielded room thousands of miles away, he was asked to see what was there. He described and drew a massive gantry crane, a detail completely unknown to US intelligence. When new satellite imagery became available, analysts were stunned. The crane was there, exactly as he had described it. The program was also deployed in active crises. When US General James Dozier was kidnapped by terrorists in Italy, Stargate's psychics were tasked. One remote viewer, focusing on coordinates, described the building where Dozier was being held. While conventional police work led to the rescue, the psychic's description of the hideout was later found to be astonishingly precise, adding a layer of inexplicable data to the intelligence file. But the program's ambitions went even further. Precognition. Could their psychics see the future? The files suggest they tried targeting political events and technological breakthroughs. The results remain a contentious secret. Was this all just coincidence and imagination? Or did the US government briefly touch upon a hidden potential of the human mind, a power that defies our current understanding of reality? For decades, the story of Project Stargate was dismissed as a bizarre footnote of the Cold War, a fringe experiment that went nowhere. But the declassified record reveals a far more unsettling reality. Here's the twist. This wasn't some small backroom operation. The CIA, and later the Defense Intelligence Agency, secretly poured over $20 million into Stargate for more than 2 decades. This substantial long-term funding supported dedicated facilities at Fort Meade and the Stanford Research Institute, employing a team of military personnel and gifted civilians trained in the art of remote viewing. And while the mainstream scientific community publicly dismissed the program as pseudoscience, behind the scenes a different story was unfolding. The program was a battleground, pitting skeptical analysts against intelligence officers who had witnessed the unbelievable firsthand. Because despite the official narrative of failure, one undeniable fact remains. Buried within thousands of declassified pages is the Pentagon's quiet admission. Some experiments delivered actionable intelligence. Remote viewers successfully described the interior of secret Soviet weapons facilities and located a downed bomber in the African jungle. These weren't just lucky guesses, they were hits, documented and verified at the highest levels. This leads to the biggest question. The program was officially terminated in 1995, citing a lack of reliability. But if it was truly a failure, why, decades later, are entire sections of the Stargate files still heavily redacted? What information is still considered so sensitive? Are they hiding the identities of the viewers or the full extent of their most shocking successes? Or are they hiding the methods themselves, the protocols that could turn a latent ability into an intelligence weapon? It forces us to wonder, did Project Stargate really end, or did it simply evolve, going deeper underground, its name changed and its techniques refined for the modern age? Could it be that psychic spying is still happening today? What if the greatest weapon of the Cold War wasn't a missile, but the human mind itself? Project Stargate may sound unbelievable, but history has shown us truth is often stranger than fiction. The only question is, what else are they hiding?